This is the Mobile Tech Podcast, brought to you by worldpodcasts.com. Now here's your host, Tech Girl, Miriam Joie.
Brought to you by Mint Mobile. Stay tuned for a special offer at the end of the show that will save you money if, like me, you use multiple SIMs. Hi, and welcome to the Mobile Tech Podcast. I'm your host, Miriam Joie, and today is Tuesday, February 28th, 2023, and we're in Barcelona, Spain for Mobile World Congress. And I've got a couple of awesome guests with me. I've got the usual guests, actually, the same guests as CES.
Same guest. You got one awesome guest in Nick and me.
So Christian the Looper is on my right, your left, and Nick Gray is on my left, your right.
How's it going, guys?
Welcome.
Welcome to a Mobile World Congress late night podcast. So you should be good. There's a bunch of phones, turns out.
Many phones.
This is the first MWC in
A long time.
5-6 years where it's been a full show. Like, everybody showed up.
Phone heavy. Yeah.
More than a dozen devices announced this week. It's incredible.
I'm actually quite happy about this.
Well, and someone was talking to me tonight and they were saying, I've just got so much work to do. I'm like, but isn't that good? Isn't that good? Like, isn't that why we come here? Like, we go to CES and we're always like fishing for what's the story. Like, there's 3 or 4 things to cover. There's so much this week that it's impossible to cover everything. Yeah. And we can pick and choose what we actually want to cover because there's some announcements that, aren't as important as others. And it's nice to have a variety in the mix rather than fishing for a story and trying to make something into a story.
It's been a busy week in a good way.
And we're tired. And if our voices sound a little coarse, it's because we've been partying. Because this is probably the first night we've had to start partying.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be real.
About right. Yep.
But we wanted to give you a podcast because there was a lot of decent stuff. I want to start with... I'm going to go by my actual schedule here, and we can go from there. The first thing I saw was TCL, which was on Saturday for me because I arrived on Friday.
Well, I've been here after that.
And what it was basically just a bunch of new, very budget phones for the US.
Okay.
Right? And I'm not really going to talk about those. They're just an evolution of last year's TCL 30 5G, and they're called like TCL 40XE 5G or something.
Okay.
Same MediaTek Dimensity 700, 50 megapixel camera now, blah, blah, blah. And they're fine. They're fine. They have a nice display because of them, that's their expertise.
Sure.
What was more exciting to me was that they had the Next Paper tablets there, which we've also seen.
Cool.
But now they have a couple of them, and one of them is a really nice 11-inch metal bodied one, like kind of like the Redmi one, like those affordable Chinese tablets that are not plasticky and crap.
Yeah,
they feel a little more upscale, but it's still really affordable. They had one of those, but Next Paper or no Next Paper, you choose.
Yeah, you have the option to go between one or the other.
And Next Paper is kind of a matte finish, folks, and it's still glass, but it feels like frosted glass, looks like frosted glass, but it's frosted glass over display wouldn't look right. So this is some kind of special micro treatment, probably what Apple does to the studio display, something like that.
Yeah,
micro etching. But what I liked the best is that they had a concept phone there with that micro etched finish Next Paper, and that was cool.
Yeah.
So and honestly, that was about the extent of my excitement. They also have a Windows-based 2-in-1 tablet that's Snapdragon 7C based on Windows on ARM.
Okay.
Which has Next Paper display.
Which has the next... Yeah, so for me right now, TCL's the last 2 years essentially has been reiterating on these mid-range and budget devices that
I'm kind of
really
sick of it.
Don't have any excitement to them at all. So they actually stopped their pre-briefings the day before I got here to Barcelona, so I didn't have a chance to get hands-on with them, but I got the briefings that we had online. And I was looking at them and I'm like, who are you trying to compete with? Mm-hmm. And the answer is nobody.
Well, Moto G.
No, but they're not. Moto G still has the market recognition. They have a fan. Like, Moto G is a budget-friendly device that has a fan base. People who buy Moto G devices will buy the next Moto G device. There's nobody who's purchased a TCL device and says, I'm going to buy another TCL device.
Yeah, it's incidental.
Correct.
I think it's like the third tier of recognition. Because it's like people who don't who go to the store and they don't see a Samsung device that they want, maybe look at the Moto device that they could get.
Well, and they see the Moto name, like, I know Motorola.
Yeah.
Like, everybody knows Motorola. They have the brand recognition, and they do have a good reputation, and their software is, even on their G series, is still really good.
Yeah.
TCL, they've gotten better, but they're still in a different category compared to Motorola.
Yeah.
It's true. So I'm not too excited about those phones, but I think the next paper, they're onto something.
Correct.
And I think that it's nice to see them do a full-on, with a stylus and the whole shebang, Windows on ARM, 2-in-1. Looks nice. Like, it's not just like, it's really nice. And that's basically it. Oh, they had glasses too. They had their next Vision.
AR glasses.
The AR glasses and the display ones. And I finally got to try the display ones, and I have to say, super high quality.
Yeah, so I mean, they are a display company, right? That's what they specialize in.
Yep.
And I think the design of those still needs a little bit of work and tweaking. They're a little bit heavy and bulky. But as far as like, this is what their third generation of those, right? They've been showing them off since IFA 2020 or 2019, 2019 I think was the first iteration, and they've gotten better and better. I still don't think I would ever recommend them to a regular consumer. Maybe a super tech nerd, yes, but there's still very limited market for them based off of the current design.
Yeah.
But they did tell me, which was really nice, admittedly, Stefan, one of the head executives there, said, we're not sure we can sell this to the consumers until we can kind of build a partnership with some content and software that's relevant to this platform. So they're like, we're just showing you what we can do from a technical perspective. Like, this is our expertise displays, and we've managed to miniaturize it to this point with AR using the latest chipset, right? The XR2 chipset from Qualcomm.
No, but I was talking mainly the display
one.
The
display one.
The display one that they have been on sale.
Yeah, that has been on sale, but it's just a display, right?
Yeah.
And I mean,
and there's a dozen of those.
I could see myself like lying flat in my business class seat wearing those instead of like craning my neck to see the stupid low resolution display they have there. That's 10 years old.
Yeah. Josh Vergara, a couple weeks ago, he was traveling and he has not the TCL ones, but another one. And he was traveling. He's like, I'm just going to put those on the plane and I'm going to have a 120-inch display in front of me to watch my anime shows.
Perfect.
Which is the perfect use case, right? You're on a plane, you don't want to look at that crappy small display and use their limited library of content. You put on these glasses, you watch whatever movie you want. Yeah. People around you aren't disturbing you.
Yeah.
Perfect opportunity to use something like that.
I think it's great. But I mean, that's about it for TCL. I thought this next paper phone idea had some merit, and I hope they make it available somehow, because the feedback I got on the reel that I did asking what you guys think was very positive. A lot of people were like, kind of like my old laptop display or whatever, and I'm like, but glass that it feels nice.
I mean, to be fair, anybody could do that finish on a smartphone, but they're only doing it because of the display technology behind it, so that you get no glare on the display itself.
Yeah, they have. It's not just. It's also image processing, or
Because to be clear, if they did get glare on that display, you wouldn't be able to see it at all.
Correct.
Right. So they have to do it in order for it to be usable.
That's right. So that was TCL. Then the next thing I saw was, let me think. I think it might have been the next day, and if it was, then it was the Xiaomi stuff. I want to say. But I kind of feel like there's something in the way. But let's talk about Xiaomi real quick. I mean, we should probably spend a bit of time on that, because these are phones that, I mean, the 13 Pro was launched in China.
The 13 Pro and the 13 and the 13 Lite.
Even the Lite was launched in China?
I believe so, yeah.
Anyway, the three phones we saw at MWC were launched in China, or maybe two of them. But the point is, they're not available globally. And that's kind of fun and exciting. And I have...
Well, now they are. They are global.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They're available globally. And now I have it here. For those of you watching on Patreon, I've got in a case here, the 13 Pro. And it's pretty cool. Ceramic back. I'm going to take it out of the case so you can see a little better. Really nice. I'm not sure I like this black. I would have like a white one or some other color. Because I have the light as well. My bag, actually it's in my bag in my hotel, the other bag. And it's pink and amazing. Isa has it and she loves it, of course.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think honestly, I don't really like this industrial design very much. I think it's a little boring The square pod.
I actually do.
Kind of
So
reminds
I
me
have
of the S20 series of Galaxy phones,
yeah, but the camera module's squared off a little bit more.
Yeah.
I have the regular 13 and a miniaturized version of that. It's a much smaller display. It's similar to the Galaxy S23 in size, right? But I actually love the design. I unboxed that phone and it's flat on the top. It's a mix between the Samsung design and an iPhone. Like the aluminum frame. Yeah, it has slab sides.
Whereas mine has a rounded edge display.
Yeah, and so the display on the front is round. It's 2.5D glass on the front, so it's kind of rounded on the front. But it looks and feels really nice. And for me, the color of the past 6 months has been this greenish shade. Of phone similar to the Pixel, and mine came in a greenish shade. I unboxed it. I was like, oh, that just looks nice. And you hold it in your hand, and it's smooth, it's small, it's compact, and I'm a fan of small, compact phones.
Yeah.
And I picked it up. I was like, this phone's for me. Yeah. I would have liked to get the Pro because of the camera, but I do love the size of the regular 13.
I agree with you that the 13 is much better looking. I just specifically talking about 13 Pro.
Yeah.
And my favorite looking of them all is the 13 Lite. I think it's super pretty.
The 13 Lite, I think the design's a little overplayed because we've seen Huawei devices with that same camera module design on the back, some Honor devices, and a couple other Chinese OEMs. And I'm like, haven't we seen this like 7 times already?
It's very much a blend of designs from other companies, which is, that's what I'm saying. Overall, I feel like, do you remember the Mi 11 series? Mm-hmm. They had a personality. They had a vibe.
Yeah, the camera module was a different shape on that one.
And I feel like this is a lot more like meh. And even I feel like the Galaxies today, even though they no longer have that little island that kind of grows out of the side, I think they have a much nicer design, honestly. I'm just not very impressed overall. Like I agree that the 13 is the best one. For me, I like the Lite because it's pink.
So my Lite was blue. I got the blue one. I got the blue one.
Yeah. Anyway, so but those phones, I mean, I've taken some photos now with the 13 Pro, and wow, that camera system in low light, it reminds me of the P30 series from Huawei when they did the RYYB sensor, and all of a sudden you didn't have to use night mode anymore. Mm-hmm. That's what that giant IMX989 sensor seems to be able to deliver. And OIS and all the fancy autofocus and stuff, but I'm a little disappointed that they couldn't make the f-stop faster than 1.9, considering like Honor did 1.5.
Honor did 1.6, but it's a smaller sensor, so Honor on their
fair enough.
So I think the physics don't work out as far as
I know. It's much harder. You need you
need more separation between the lens.
It's already a gigantically thick camera bump on the 13 Pro, so yeah. But I'm happy we get these devices to play with. You'll see some reviews coming up. I think I'm going to review the Lite for Elena at Geekspin. And then the 13 Pro, obviously, I'm going to give you all the lowdown on a future episode of the show. So, I mean, anything else? I think TK has a watch and earbuds that they launched as well. I don't know anything about that.
I got the watch and the earbuds as well.
I haven't tried them yet, but I have them.
Huh, interesting.
I've done the unboxing for the watch. I haven't taken the buds out of the box yet, but the watch itself is really nice fit and finish. So this is, I think it's the S1 Pro smartwatch. It's a metal smartwatch. It has a rotating crown dial on the side, and it's not directly on the side like the Pixel. It's further up on the edge here.
Yeah,
and it's pretty large. So if you like that look of a little bit of chunky knob on the edge, it looks really nice. It comes with a tan leather band that feels really good. I did not get to use the software because they did not release the software in the app to pair to your phone until launch day.
Right.
So I did my unboxing and I went to set it up while unboxing it, and it was like, it's not in the app. I emailed them. They're like, no, it's not coming until launch day. I was like, you sent me it 2 weeks early and I can't do anything with it. It looks really nice. The fit and finish and the quality is I think it's steel. The frame of the watch is steel.
Yeah.
And this is their highest end smartwatch that they've ever built. Yeah. So once I get the software installed and I can actually use it, it should be nice.
Yeah. And then the next thing we should talk about, which I think was pretty important because it was cool, was the OnePlus 11 concept, right?
Yep.
So what's your take on that? I mean, it's a concept.
My take on it is OnePlus has done a lot of concepts over the years, right?
Yeah.
We've seen concept phones that have a transparent back that changes, that frosts out, and then you can see through it.
It's an ND filter, actually.
The ND filter, correct. Well, an electronic ND filter versus a manual ND filter that most people are used to on cameras. We've seen concepts from them before where they've said, we're going to use this technology in a future device. And this is what they said this time with the cooling system.
Yeah.
So for those who aren't familiar, it's a true liquid cooling system with moving liquid on the inside of the phone that you can turn on some LED lights and you can see the moving liquid inside the phone. And I'm thinking the only reason you can actually see the liquid on the inside of the phone is because there's air bubbles in there. Yeah. Which makes it less efficient. Like, if you take the air bubbles out, it would be more efficient, and then you wouldn't be able to see them moving. So
good point. Unless it's oil and water, or like two different liquids.
No, they said it's distilled water.
Oh, wow. It's only distilled water?
Distilled water.
So it's going to freeze. What happens when it's cold outside?
Well, I mean, your phone itself is going to be warm enough so that it doesn't freeze.
Yeah, hopefully.
Right? Because it's there to keep your phone cool. If your phone is frozen, you don't need to keep it cool, right? Unless it's heating. I don't know.
Do you have any opinions on that?
I think it's interesting. I think I was a bit underwhelmed by it. I mean, the concepts are cool, but
it made for a really good reel.
It made for a good reel. We'll see.
So I think they wanted a media hit for the show.
Yep.
Because they had nothing else to talk about. This was their media hit for the show.
But they kind of had a second media hit by announcing that they're making a folding phone later this year.
Yes, but they teased that on social media 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, that's true.
So so to that point, some of us were invited to an event at the Oppo booth about talking about maybe something we're going to announce. They were extremely cryptic about everything. And then we sit through 30 minutes, and at the very end, they say,
Oh, by the way,
we are working on a foldable device for later this year. No details given about chipsets or design. Is it a flip or is it a fold? Which way does it open up?
So what's your guess? Either of you.
I reckon it would be a fold. I think the trend has been a fold first.
I think it'll be an Oppo Find N2 clone.
It's hard to say because, I mean, this year we saw them reduce their pricing on the OnePlus 11 and saying, hey, we lost our way when we launched the 10 Pro last year for what? It was $1,000.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then within 3 months, they reduced it by $200. They're like, actually, we priced that wrong because nobody's buying the phone. So and then the 11 got even cheaper. It was $700, right?
Yeah.
$699.
Yeah.
So the fact that they're kind of going back to the roots, saying we'll give you some flagship features, but the pricing's going to be lower. I don't think they can do a device that's going to be extremely more expensive. So we've seen flip phones roughly $999 from a handful of different brands.
Yeah,
I think they could pull that off. They could actually pull it off for $899, right? Like we're going to give you a value. But if they do a true fold, you're talking minimum minimum $12.99. Like especially for the US market.
How much is the Find N2 in China?
Yeah, but it would be a pretty good price, but a OnePlus fan probably wouldn't pay it. They want budget friendly. They want something under $1,000, right?
Yeah.
Like that's the main thing that OnePlus fans are like, give me the things at a really discounted price. And that's why that's the core fans of the brand. Mm. And so I don't think like you could definitely get new fans of the brand at $12.99 or even $13.99 for, a Find N2 clone, but I don't think they would get any love from the core fan base. I don't know.
No, you're probably right.
Yeah, you might be right. I think there would be some core fans who would be interested in a fold that's cheaper than the competition out there.
But to the other point though, which one would actually sell better?
Well,
everyone's
the flip
seen
would probably sell better.
The flips, even Samsung has said the flip has sold like 4x times the fold.
That
so if they're trying to move units, that might actually bring more fans to the brand.
Yeah.
If they can do an $899 or even a $799 flip.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And the Find N2 flip just launched a week ago.
And it's $849. It's like or $899. It's like it's a little cheaper than the Samsung, but not by much in those markets. Look, I'm excited. I'm excited about this folding OnePlus because it means one more folding phone, no matter what format they pick.
That's true.
Available in North America for us, which is a big deal. And for those of you in the rest of the world, you already have the Oppo, so you know.
And you have a
plethora of
and also a Huawei, and there's plenty of options. Yeah. We in the US we have the fewest options for foldables 100%.
Right now. Yeah. So this is good news. And as far as the concept, I thought it was cool, but it's a concept, and as you said, it's just like whatever. But I did appreciate it. I used it, I handled it, I thought it was cool. I got some good videos and photos. They did show us the Pad as well, which is their tablet they announced in India a couple of weeks back. And I mean, it's big. It feels really nicely made. It feels like a premium product.
We still don't know price.
But
should be coming April.
Really?
I think.
That soon?
That's
to North America?
I don't know. So I don't know if it's April to European markets.
I think it's probably Europe first.
Additional markets after that, or if it's going to be launching in the US at the same time. But yeah, I heard April is the time frame that we're looking at. But as far as pricing is the key factor here. And again, back to the point of how expensive is the fold or whatever it's going to be. They might shock us with a good price, but it's a Dimensity 9000 or 9000 plus.
Yeah, something like that.
And so we've seen at CES we saw a couple tablets with the 9000 plus, or maybe it was just the 9000, the big one from Lenovo.
Oh yeah.
That came with the keyboard. It was like a 14-inch tablet. Like it was massive.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah. You talked to us about.
I was super excited. Like for me, that was one of like I saw that tablet. I was like, I want that tablet.
The CES show, you were nuts about that.
Yeah. But awesome. the price of that one's 1,000 plus. Right.
Yeah.
And it's not coming out for another couple months still. Like early summer, I think. So if they can beat Lenovo to the punch to the U.S. market with a Dimensity 9000 chipset tablet, decent size, and the OnePlus one. I don't know if it comes with the keyboard and folio case, and there's a pen as well.
I assume
no. I mean,
it would probably be $100 add-on or $79.
That'd be a nice combo. That'd be a pretty good price.
Yeah. I mean, maybe they have a combo price. Buy it separate or buy it together.
Yeah.
But I
think it'll be good because there's not that many good Android tablets.
No. I think the reason we're not going to see this in the US right away, and I could be wrong, is simply because it doesn't have built-in 5G. And you know that they have this feature that lets you like tether your phone automatically, seamlessly. You know, other companies have done that, Apple continuity. But I feel like the carriers in the US are not going to let that happen. They're going to want to put their extra $5 data plan. Yeah, you think about it. Of course they are.
Yeah, but this is so the OnePlus 11 didn't launch on a U.S. carrier.
It's true.
So
they don't
have
any
carrier support, and
then it doesn't matter. Yeah, good point. But anyway, that was basically OnePlus in a nutshell at MWC. You know, you didn't say much about the Xiaomis. What did you think of them?
You know, I got them. I haven't really tried them out that much yet, so I withhold my opinion.
Withhold your opinion.
Yeah, but they look cool.
You happy with the aesthetics?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So the next thing I did, I'm literally looking at my calendar, and you guys might have other stuff. I actually went to Showstoppers, and I saw the Bullet stuff. So Bullet is a UK company that makes cat phones, which are known for being one of the OG rugged phones, not made by some unknown Ulefone or whatever Chinese company.
Yep.
And I mean, they're made in China, I'm pretty sure. But there are, I reviewed a bunch of them. They were the first with the FLIR thermal camera. And back in the day, that's one of my highest videos on my YouTube, believe it or not. Anyway, and then they now are using the Moto brand to make rugged phones for Moto. And they partnered with MediaTek to basically roll out the first non-terrestrial network NTN implementation. That's the if you listen to a few podcasts back, I had the folks from MediaTek on the show telling us about this technology, and it was a sponsored show by MediaTek, and it was really cool because they explained how it's a 3GSM standard that they're trying to implement. And Bullet is the first company to use those chipsets from MediaTek in these devices and to actually give you the service. Because, the technology is one thing, but if you can't actually have a satellite to connect to, it's not going to help. So this is for emergency use, for very low bandwidth messaging. And, these phones have that built in.
Well, emergency use, but also it's just a messaging system.
That's what I'm saying. It's a messaging system. But the cool thing is that they made this dongle, right? Yes. It's like about the size of like a hockey puck in diameter, but much thinner. And it's got like a strap, and you can like put on a carabiner, and it has a charge port on it, and a couple of simple controls, and basically pairs with an iPhone or Android phone and gives you that satellite connectivity in an emergency through Bullet's subscription system, through their satellite agreement that they have.
So one thing to point out, it's a messaging system. It's no calling. But it's actually a proprietary messaging system. So the person you are messaging needs to have the Bullet app on their device.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So I was talking to Brad at MediaTek. And so
that's very weird.
Who you're communicating with also has to have the Bullet app. So it's a third-party service. It doesn't send an SMS. It sends a Bullet message to another Bullet.
Interesting. Okay. So that's a weird thing for 3GSM. I would have expected to integrate right into messaging.
Yeah. So this is the information I got from MediaTek. Trying to explain it is both parties sending and receiving messages must have this third party app. So it's not like I'm out in the middle of nowhere and I don't have a cell phone connection and it's just going to send an SMS to somebody else. They must know in advance that I'm going to be communicating with them and have this app installed.
That kind of makes it a whole lot less.
But I mean, it could have a fail-safe service where maybe it does send an SMS to somebody. Like an iMessage, right? Like it sends an SMS if you're not on an iPhone or an iMessage mess. Yeah. So it might send you a link to say install the app. I don't know, but the messages are through the Bullet app service, requiring the Bullet app on the other end as well.
Interesting. But I still think it's cool, and that puck idea I think is really clever to get people started if they don't want to buy a rugged Moto branded phone that probably doesn't have the specs of your Galaxy or iPhone, right?
No, but Bullet with their cat phones has always done a great job. They've never been flagship tier devices.
No.
But they're rugged. I actually have a video of reviewing a cat phone like 4 or 5 years ago, and I'm talking about how rugged it is, and I was like, watch this. And I just chuck the phone like 20 yards and I carry the camera over and it's like off in the dust and I pick it up and I'm like, not a scratch. Like brush off the dust and like.
You're trying to pull a unbox therapy Lou here.
Yeah, kind of. No, I chucked that phone like 20 yards. It was a fun time.
It's like it reminds me of a bunch of other kind of destruction of rugged phone videos on YouTube. But, I'm in the same boat as you. I've used the cat phones. I took them to Burning Man where they really got tested in terms of...
the dust.
And they did not care. They were so rock solid, man. Yeah. It was just really good. But what else? So Planet Computers, who does the weird... phone, that has like a keyboard and it's like a slider thing.
Oh, yes. I did not have a chance to see what they announced.
I didn't either, but they were there and they gave me a business card and said, come by my booth. And they have some sort of like home PC now as well. Like they're making some kind of like all-in-one mini PC built around some sort of ARM chip. So like think Raspberry Pi type thing. I don't know exactly. I will try to find something and put it in the show notes. But that's the only two things that showstoppers that were like, oh, cool. Yeah, and so that kind of ends the second day for me, as it were. But then moving on, the next thing we have is Honor. And they launched, again, it was predictable. The VS has launched already in China. Yep. And we knew what it looked like. We knew the specs.
Yep.
And it's a really nice phone. Because it's very lightweight for a folding phone. It has a very nice hinge design that I think simplifies from like some 40 parts to down to like 9
4
or something.
Yeah, something
Yeah,
like
they
that.
say the hinge itself is now 4 individual
Correct.
parts.
4
4.
individual types
Yeah.
of parts, or just 4 parts in total?
So from what I've seen is there's 4 parts that come apart, but each part is a multi-compound part.
Okay.
So
Well, still
yes
great.
and no. But they say
Yeah.
they've reduced the weight and this overall size of the hinge significantly.
Yeah.
So yes, it is extremely light for what it's worth.
Yeah.
Because foldable phones are, as you probably know, typically the size of 2 phones just sandwiched on top of each other. And this is one of the
Except
thinnest.
for the Xiaomi, which is
Yeah.
like the
So I
most
was-
sexy.
I was at the Xiaomi booth this
Oh my
afternoon because
God.
we went to the Xiaomi booth, right?
Yeah.
We walked
Yeah.
through and I was like, this is so thin. I hadn't held the
Yeah.
Xiaomi yet.
Yeah, I played with Michael Fishers back at the MediaTek Summit.
And it is
Unbelievable.
extremely
It's
but
very thin.
I would think this is the second thinnest
Yes.
right
Probably.
behind the Xiaomi one.
Yeah.
It's a very nice phone. Can't wait to get a review in it. I know some of you have it.
Yep.
I've used
what's
it
your
for a little
thoughts?
bit.
You've been using it for a bit.
Yeah, so the reason it's so thin is because they've managed to create a hinge that means there's no gap between the screens at all. Like if you get a Galaxy Z Fold 4 today, if you close it, there's still a little
Yeah.
gap in between the screens, and that can kind of be problematic in terms of debris kind of ending up in between, et cetera, et cetera. So I've really liked the hinge design that's meant that it truly folds like it's 2 phones stacked on top of each other instead of 2 phones that are kind of wedged together.
But to be fair, only Samsung's foldables have the gap. Every
Okay,
other
sure.
foldable on the market has no gap.
It's
so,
true.
So the
Yeah.
Xiaomi has no gap. The
Yeah.
Oppos have no gap. The new Tecno launched a foldable today.
Yeah.
That one has
Yeah.
no gap.
Yeah.
So yes, when
be
compared
fair,
to
that is
Samsung,
true.
but when compared to everybody else, it's par for the course.
But Samsung happens to be the most popular.
Correct. Well, and so Samsung also is the only one that's a global
Yes.
device.
Yeah.
And this is the first global fold besides the Samsung not coming to US
Technically
markets.
global, not US.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And global never means US. It has to be US specific, right?
Yeah, oh,
Yeah.
man.
So the one thing that they're still working on, because the phone's not available yet, it was announced
No.
that it's going to be a couple months still until retail availability.
Yeah, we don't
For the
know
VS?
exactly.
For
Yeah.
the VS, it's still
Wow.
it's still a couple months out, and software is definitely still not final.
No.
Okay.
So they still have. I was told the next update that's going to be coming is going to enable the app drawer. The app drawer is not enabled yet.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
and so for the China market, they simply don't have the app drawer. The phone's been available in the China market for a couple months now.
Yeah.
So things like that, they're supposed to be adding improvement to multi-window support. From what I've seen so far, my limited use, it's a little bit harder to use and just use multi-windows side by side as you would on Samsung. Samsung's done 4 generations
Yeah.
of these,
Yeah.
and they've gotten it down. Even
They've
with
nailed it.
with the dock that they added at the bottom of this with the last one, makes
Yeah.
it so much easier to just pull up your apps. You can pin apps together and you can have them down on the
Yeah.
dock at the bottom and pull them back up. They simply haven't had the time to iterate on the software as Samsung has.
Right.
And that does mean they're behind on the user experience, as
Yeah.
is everybody else. Even the Xiaomi is behind.
Yeah.
Even Oppo really has no multi-screen
So
support for
Yeah.
theirs.
I want to actually add to that, even though it's something that happened later, in fact, happened today. I went to an Oppo briefing today that was like dog and pony showy. But what was cool about it, I thought, was that they had a Q&A with us and we were able to ask some hard questions.
Yeah.
And one of the questions I asked was, why haven't we seen your book style folding, Fine N2 style
Yeah.
phone in global markets yet? And that's exactly the answer I got. The answer I got was that
We're not ready.
we are not ready to have software that works for the West or for non-Chinese use yet.
Yeah.
That takes advantage of that screen real estate and optimizes the user experience. And I thought, wow, what a nice, honest, straight to the point, absolutely valid.
Yeah.
Because remember how the original folds were kind of janky?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so, I do have the Find N2, and the hardware is amazing. I love
Same.
it.
Yeah.
It's a little chunkier than what I like. It's thicker, and the fact that it's a smaller display.
It's like
the smaller, wider.
It's a smaller display, but I love the form factor of it. How it's wider than it is taller versus Samsung's.
Yeah.
But yeah, the software experience, because I do have the Chinese version, is just not. It's not built for side-by-side Windows support. There's no added features to make it more usable than a mini tablet.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And they need something to make it stand out, because it's not a mini tablet. It's a foldable, and you're supposed to use it in a certain way and get more use out of it.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, the VS is cool, but obviously last year we got the Magic 4 series, which had an incredible camera system on the Pro. And here we are again, Magic 5 Pro, Magic 5, Magic 5 Lite. Now the Magic 5 Lite is a rebranded Honor 9AX or something like that.
They launched in Asian markets.
But I talked to the folks at DxO, which has also have sponsored a show here before. And they said that in their tests, the phones are identical on hardware, but the antenna optimizations and the band support is such that they're getting significantly worse performance with the Chinese phone in France where they're testing versus the Honor 5 Lite that they tested.
In performance as in
network and battery life and general thermals and everything.
I mean, if they don't have the correct band support, I mean, we see this in the US when we import a device and we put a US SIM and you're like, how's your battery life? I'm like, not good.
Really but they said this is the most obvious they've ever seen a difference.
Wow.
And it could be that they simply, to save money, they didn't enable as many bands for the network support, and they're missing key bands for EU.
They're
5G.
also missing aggregation, like we're getting on a lot of our bands. Yeah. So that's an interesting point of view. But speaking of the Honor Magic 5 Lite, it is one of the thinnest phones out there in that category. It's very affordable and it looks super sexy. Have you guys seen it in person?
I have not.
No,
that
not
thing
in person.
looks hot. Oh my God. Yeah, really nice. And, it's got the best endurance. Not endurance. So again, I talked to DxO Marks about that. I said, guys, come on. This can't have the best battery life. We've seen phones with 6,000 milliamp hour batteries. But like, no, that's not the point. The point of our test is we want overall the power experience to be good.
Yeah.
So, they said to me, look, we have looking at charge speeds, power consumption, the whole package of the power experience. And they said, we are easily 3 days on that phone at light use.
Wow.
And you can recharge it pretty quickly because there's something like 67 watt charging.
Yeah,
right.
So it's a combo of both things. Then the 5, we don't know much about it. The Magic 5 Pro, though, is a beast.
Yep.
The specs are amazing. Do you guys have it?
I have it. I haven't played with it a lot, but the limited time I have, it seems like a really great phone.
And I'm getting one very soon, so I'll stay tuned, folks. But I really like the Magic 4 Pro last year, except I felt that considering the specs and the incredible camera, hardware, software, the whole package, especially sensor fusion, it didn't quite deliver the final picture quality I wanted.
So I have actually, for the embargo, instead of doing a typical hands-on, I decided to do one of my camera tests.
Oh yeah.
So
if famous Nick Ray Fandroid branded camera test.
So if you want to see my camera test with 12 minutes of photos and videos directly from the device, you can go to the YouTube channel. But it is, I would say, significantly better than last year.
Okay.
And for me, one of the key issues last year was we actually couldn't record 4K video from all of the cameras on the back of the phone.
Right.
I believe it was the zoom camera that was limited to 1080p.
Mm-hmm.
And even the selfie camera as well. This year, so you get a triple 50 megapixel camera system on the back. Yep. The main sensor is a 1/1.2 inch sensor. So
do we know who makes it?
It's in the spec sheet. I can't remember.
It's not a Sony.
I don't think it's a Sony. No. But it's large, and you get that shallow depth of field even without portrait mode turned on.
Sweet.
I was doing some so I flipped the phone around using the rear camera to do recording of myself, and just like holding it at arm's length, and the bokeh behind you, it looks really nice. The processing still is Honor-ish, where it's overexposing just a little bit.
Yeah.
Like you would want to tone it down just a little bit.
Yeah.
So if you go into, pro mode and tone it down yourself, you can. But the selfies look really good. The selfie camera, I believe it's a 12 megapixel selfie camera, but that can also do 4K at 30 FPS.
Yay!
So for a Chinese OEM especially, this is
Unusual.
It is extremely rare.
Yeah.
So 4K from the selfie camera is great. I think the overall quality, I would say, comparable to, a Galaxy S21 as far as the image processing goes, which is a good compliment. Like it's in the same ballpark as some of these really high-end devices that are known for their cameras.
Yeah.
Even though this has really great hardware, it honestly does come down to the processing, and they've improved significantly on that over last year's device.
Yeah.
I was amused with their nomenclature around the cameras. The Eye of Muse evolution into the Star Wheel triple camera.
Star Wheel triple camera.
And then the Falcon, whatever it was, capture.
The Falcon capture. So that's one of the features that they're talking about.
It's fusion, sensor fusion.
Sensor fusion. No, so which one is the slow motion capture? So it has an AI feature where it will automatically capture the best image of a fast moving object. So they did this promo thing with the Guinness World Record where someone was doing a slam dunk of something and the phone captures the image automatically.
Yeah.
Well, it's capturing multiple images and then freezes on the one it thinks is the best shot.
Yeah.
And it freezes the motion. So they had examples of people were shuffling cards and snapping a picture of people shuffling cards, and the image comes out perfectly.
I mean, I have to say that is super cool.
So
does it work in your test?
Does it give you the choice?
You have to turn it on every time.
Does it give you? Can you select a different still?
I don't know. I've only captured like 2 or 3 of them. I haven't played with it that much, so you might be able to say no, I don't want that one. But I think it captures it and then processes for that specific one.
Yeah.
So if you select a different one, it might not have the processing behind it.
Right.
But it also says like it's running multiple frames and it's saying this is the clearest one we captured.
Right.
I think that's mainly what it's doing is I captured 100 frames and this is the clearest out of the 100 frames that I captured.
Sure.
The other thing about that is personally, when I'm capturing fast motion, I want to capture the blur to illustrate the fast motion, right? Like a car zooming by, you want the streak of headlights or the tail lights. You want to show that motion or you want to show the blur of, the rims of a car. You don't want to show the still shot because the car looks like it's not moving at all, right?
It's like the helicopter effect when you're doing video.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. And so I definitely think it's a very cool feature, but you have to be in a very unique situation to say, I want to freeze this frame exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
And also, you have to turn the feature on every single time. It's not like you're in auto mode and it'll do it and it'll give you the option. You have to go into the settings and say, something quick is going to happen. Let me capture that quick thing. And you need to take 5 seconds to do it.
Right.
Yeah.
But overall, I mean, I haven't played with it, but I feel confident as long as it can be improved over last year, which still needed a little bit of work.
Performance is really good. I like the performance, and I spent a day and a half doing camera tests.
Okay.
I didn't charge the phone one time in that day and a half.
Nice.
I mean,
so
Snapdragon 8 Gen 2.
It's a Snapdragon 8 Gen 2, and it's a 5,100 milliamp hour battery.
It's pretty
Like
impressive.
they're like, let's bump it up just one more over everybody else. 100
That's
extra
bigger
milliamps.
than the foldable.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Their foldables get a pretty decent battery, though.
Yeah, 5,000 milliamp hour.
Yeah. So there
Very
you go.
hopeful.
I feel like Honor did a good job, honestly, at delivering some interesting products.
Yes.
Yeah.
For the global market, which is not what we come to MWC for, and not necessarily what you get out of the gate, as you've noticed by now. All these Chinese phones coming out of China only. The next company that I was the pleasure to just hang out with was Huawei, and Huawei launched a new watch, GT Cyber.
Yes.
That I got to put on my wrist. For you folks watching on Patreon, here you go. It's pretty hot. And what it is I actually have more photos here. It is a
interchangeable
watch
body.
module with interchangeable body.
That's cool.
So I'll show you folks in a second.
Yeah.
and it looks pretty dope. It feels really nice on the wrist. And so I mean, that was, I mean, they had other stuff that they talked about that would already be launched. This was new. But this is the, they had the watch with the
earbuds on the inside.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, so we saw that it's one of the, I don't know, we see a lot of smartwatches that are the same, right? But this one, and everyone's like, oh, you can customize the band to make it look your own. This, you're customizing the shell of the watch. And how many did they have on display as the different styles they have?
They had a whole bunch. I mean, they passed them along as during a briefing. We didn't have they passed a plastic shell and a metal shell. And the crown can be changed too to match the design.
Oh, really? I didn't know the crown was
Yeah. It's I was impressed. Look, I'm a big fan of the G watches because they last a week on a charge and they just deliver what I need, which is sleep tracking, basic vitals and physical steps and stuff like that. And, they have basic notifications, and that's really pretty much what I care about the most. Yeah. I mean, I have to admit, it's nice to have Google Assistant directly on my watch with my Pixel watch here, but the battery every day is a bit of a hassle. Mm-hmm. And I've got it on battery saver all day pretty much at this point.
So you can have at least 15% charge at the end of the
night. Correct. So I can sleep in it. But look, Huawei's around, and I have to say, I just want to update folks who probably listen to the podcast for months now and years. For a while there, Huawei was kind of falling through the cracks for a lot of us because of the sanctions and stuff. And the feeling I got talking to them is that they're really going to try to do a renewed effort to get us non-Chinese markets, and obviously not specifically the US, because the US is problematic for them.
It's still hard.
But like European media, and, I guess I count now that have a residence in Canada. They said, oh, that's going to make things a lot easier for sending you devices. I'm like, ding, ding, ding.
Right.
But they're basically saying that they're wanting to re-push a relationship with us, which I felt kind of deteriorated and fell apart.
Definitely.
For a while. And that was very positive because they didn't at all have the attitude of like, we hate you because you banned us kind of thing.
So it's not our fault.
That's my point. That's my
we
point.
banned them.
Of course so, right.
We're just media. Come on.
The next thing I have on the agenda we should talk about, because although it didn't happen then, it happened today for me and for others the day before. I went to PepCom just kind of to get food, really. I wasn't really that excited, to be honest. Yeah. But Lenovo was there, right? Mm-hmm. And I got to see some of the Lenovo stuff. But more importantly, I got to speak with Jeff, the head of Lenovo PR. And he said, come, we're going to be showing you that incredible Moto Rizr concept rollable phone.
Don't call it the Rizr.
It says literally Rizr on it.
Yes. So what you're talking about is Motorola's concept rollable smartphone.
Correct.
Which the PR people iterated over and over again. And then when I was at the briefing, Mr. Fisher points out, are you gonna call it, what's the name? And then the screen rises up and he's standing behind it. Oh, you're calling it the Rizr? That's awesome. And they're like, no, someone just printed that on the back. I'm like, you have 6 units. Someone just didn't print it on the back. That was a choice. No,
look,
and for those who don't know, the Rizr is Moto's brand for their sliding phones that they had in the early 2000s.
Like Samsung made a bunch of
or
those.
The LG ones.
The chocolate series.
The chocolate series.
But here it is, guys. I think it's a brilliant rebirth of the name.
Oh, completely.
They absolutely have to do. So let's talk about that phone. We've all had a chance to handle it now?
I've had a chance to look at it.
Okay, they let me use it for about 10 minutes, and I took photos and videos. Check out my reels on Instagram, and my photos will come up soon. I want it so bad. Way better than a flip phone, in my opinion. This is what I want.
So should we describe it for those who
Please
don't know? So it is a small, stubby device, a little chunkier than what you would expect, with a 5-inch display.
When closed.
And so the aspect ratio is more like 4:3.
Squarish, yeah.
Yeah, so it's a 4:3 aspect ratio. And then you double press the power button on the edge, and the screen rolls out to extend to 6.5 inches.
Yeah.
They didn't give us details on resolution of the display, what processors are on the inside, RAM or anything like that. I did hear it's roughly a 3,000 to 3,500 milliamp hour battery on the inside.
Yeah, it's not huge.
Because of the size of the phone is, what it is.
Fine, yeah.
But honestly, if you're using it with the smaller display, you're not using as much battery. But when it rolls up and becomes a smaller phone, the screen tucks down around the bottom edge of the phone, curves around.
I'm playing a 13-second video for the Patreon.
And then it rolls up to the back of the phone, where when the phone is flipped on its face and the back is showing, the back side is used similar to the cover display on the Rizr, where it's showing notifications, incoming calls, things like that.
Yeah.
Or if you're taking a photo of somebody, it shows the viewfinder on the back end, or allows you to use the viewfinder to use the main camera as a selfie camera.
Yeah, this is what happens when you get a call on the phone is closed in the back display.
Yeah. And they said you will be able to see notifications in the future. They didn't show it off now because it's still a concept device, but notifications, things like that on there as well. So it's cool. For me, this is the showstopper.
This is absolutely best of show.
You reckon?
This is best of show
for me. This is the most exciting.
This is the most exciting thing.
We just see so many things that are. Honor just showed us a folding phone. They showed us another phone. Other people showed us things we've already seen before.
Yeah.
We haven't seen this. I mean, technically, we saw this. They teased it at Lenovo World.
Correct.
3 months ago,
and
they showed
summer,
it for
actually.
Behind embargo. Like some of us saw
they
it
said
last.
It's off the record.
Correct.
And now we got to see it.
And now it's on the record. Yeah, we actually got to see it when we were in Chicago last summer. Yeah. Just like a photo and a quick video.
And we were like, the room lost its mind.
And, to be clear, I don't know if we can continue because what we saw there was more a concept, prototype of just design concept versus, and it looked it actually looked cooler than what this does.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if they can implement what they actually showed.
So this is in a case right now.
So right now
That's
it's
optional.
in a clear, transparent case because it's being handled by so many people.
Yeah.
And they made the case to show that a case can be made for a device like this.
Right. Okay.
And in case you're wondering, folks, well, I have 2 Pixels. It's because I'm too lazy to switch to my new Pixel.
Okay.
Well, no, it's just so much work. I will do it, but
they have these phone cloning tools,
Yeah, but
they exist.
You could root them and just flash the ROM, do a complete system backup, and restore.
All I'm hearing is blah,
blah, blah, blah. You have friends at XDA developers.
It's not even that. I can do it myself. I'm just too lazy. So the point is, this is to me the start of the show, and I think it's hard to explain in words. You have, even in video, that reel that I just showed you, that essentially what I ended up putting as a reel, is not, for those of you on Patreon watching, it's so cool in person.
Yes.
You handle this thing, and it feels like you're holding the freaking future in your hand.
It looks like something out of Star Trek.
But it's running. It's working.
Oh, it's real.
Like everything works. It's a phone.
And so I did a video about it, and also touched on Lenovo's rollable laptop, which they showed up with essentially the same thing. A 12-inch display laptop turns into a 15-inch display laptop using similar technology.
Yeah.
But the one thing for me is this phone is going to be the most fragile phone you've ever used in your life.
Okay, so,
and as I was standing there, someone else I finished up my media thing to my 10 minutes with the phone. Someone else who was right next to me, I'm not going to mention it. And if you're listening, you know who you are. Almost nicked it on the side of a table, which would have destroyed the display. And you know who you are. So, but yeah, it's one of those things where you need to be extremely careful. It's a POLED display, right? It's plastic OLED.
Yeah.
Technically, your fingernail can crease this display.
100%.
I don't know if the technology can get better to solve that.
So actually, I want to add a couple of things to that. First of all, when I handled it, they already had some screen damage.
Okay.
Like a small dent in the screen. And I brought that up with the PR people, and they're like, it's gone through a lot of hands in the last day or two.
Oh, I can imagine.
Like way more than it was designed for.
And so people who are not necessily being
they were
careful
basically implying that we're actually surprised it's holding up
it's
that
still
well.
alive.
Yeah. And then the other thing is I noticed, we were handling it on a table similar to where we're recording here, and it was visually a clean table. But just the dust
and particles.
Like at one point, Michael Fisher, who did this content before me, he put it down, like face down, display down. And when I picked it up, literally, there was like dust everywhere. And it was closing up and it was going in there. Like,
inside the ears.
And I'm like, oh, what a nightmare this is going to be.
Imagine going to the beach and getting a little bit of sand and you close it and you hear it like...
No, don't want that.
But look,
but it's still amazing.
This is the super coolest thing we've seen at MWC. 100%.
And speaking to them, they did not disclose if or when a device would ever be released. No. Versus we asked the same question to the Lenovo people, and the answer we got was from the Lenovo people was, essentially, we wouldn't be wasting our time on a concept of a device that we don't think we can bring to market.
Yeah. Correct.
Yeah. And so they were much more confident of, we're going to have a laptop doing this thing. At some point. We don't know when that point is. The Motorola answer was, I don't know. Yeah. Which could mean there's an announcement imminent. Yeah. Or no, we're not having anything for the next 10 years. Like
I'm doubting this one right now.
No, like I think the technology needs to get a lot better. Like it's really cool. I don't think it's anywhere close to being sturdy. I'm not saying like it's not going to work. Day-to-day usage of this will last you 2 years without breaking. Yeah. Because we've seen with the foldables too, like people go and get the protective film replaced because it starts bubbling after 6 months.
Well, so Theo's Z Flip 3, they play games a lot on it, and they always tap in the same spot. And you're starting to see like the oleophobic coating, phoric, whatever it's called, is like coming off. Yep. And I think next time we're in the US, we're going to go to the Samsung store and see if they can. Yeah. But here's the thing, there's one more phone I want to talk about because we should probably keep this manageable in terms of length. But here's the thing. There is another kind of cool phone. And I have it right here in my hand. This, for those of you watching, is the Realme GT3 240 watt. 240 watt charging. Last year demoed at MWC. This year, real in our hands on a phone that costs $650 starting point.
Pretty quick.
So what do you guys think of this? I mean, I just got mine. I haven't even set it up. That's why the screen's not on. Yeah. It's unbelievably cool, that charging time.
It's unbelievably... So, to be fair, I love the design of last year's flagship phone.
Better.
So much better. The industrial
because it also had aluminum. This is a plastic frame. They've cheapened out a bit.
It felt a lot more premium. And I think I've only used the cameras for like 5 minutes, taking maybe a dozen photos. Yeah. I think the cameras on last year's phone was better as well. Like they had a focus on the cameras last year. The focus this year is there's this LED notification light.
Yeah. Which is cool.
Which is cool. It's cool. A little bit gimmicky, I think.
Yeah. Around a Snapdragon 8 Plus.
Yeah, so there's a transparent glass.
Gen 1 stencil. It's janky.
But the LED light can be customized to different types of notifications so that you know what type of notification is coming in. Yeah. So if it's a phone call or a message.
I mean, it's like, we've seen this. Remember the...
Yeah, but we've seen this, but it's very, very rare.
Oppo did it rare. On the Oppo Reno 8 Pro. Yes. And the previously on the 7 Pro, they had the ring around. I mean, they've done it a few times.
But it's extremely rare to have a phone that lights up on the back. Like we were actually just at a nothing party, and they do LEDs to the umpteenth level. They got some light up LEDs. So if you want a light up LED phone, get the Nothing Phone 1.
Absolutely.
No, but we might want to mention.
Yeah, let's speak. I was just gonna say, let's just jump into that.
Let's talk about this really quick. The charging on this is extremely fast. They did an on-stage demo of 80 seconds to see how far we can charge from zero.
It went to 23%.
22 or 23%.
It was at 2%.
2%? Okay, 2 to 23.
2 to 23 in 81 seconds was when he finally hit the off button.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. And a full charge in 9.5 minutes. Something like 50% in
Under
4
10.
minutes. Yep. And just 30 seconds of charge will give you something like 2 hours talk time, 20 minutes of video. I've got it all on a slide here. Mm-hmm. Unbelievable. Check my check my Insta and my Twitter for that, for the slides for that.
Yeah, I mean, as if you want, OnePlus has been pushing for years. Like, we have a fast charging phone. I actually did a smartphone charging test with the OnePlus device, and it charges extremely fast, 30 to 35 minutes, depending on how hot the battery is beforehand and things like that.
Yeah.
But this, I'm going to do another charging test, put it side by side with the OnePlus device.
Yeah.
And the OnePlus fanboys are not going to be happy.
They're going to be mad.
They're not going to be happy.
And the other thing they said, they have all the certifications and everything for safety, but more importantly, you can charge this phone at minus 20 degrees Celsius.
It has that heat pump system inside.
It actually fires up the processor to warm up the phone.
warm up the phone.
What is the conversion? It's minus 30 divided by 2. From Fahrenheit, so it's the other way around. So you multiply by 2 and you add 30 or something. Anyway, it's very cold. In a nutshell. I can't remember the conversion off the top of my head right now.
I mean, you're really not going to need it unless you're living in Antarctica.
No, but the point is, this is a legitimate problem. Like, electric cars have this problem too, right?
Yeah.
Like, you can't charge if they're cold unless you precondition the battery. And this is the first phone we've ever heard that actually preconditions the battery.
Yeah.
So that's actually very cool. No, I'm excited to put this through its paces, and hopefully the camera does. I mean, it does have OIS on the main sensor.
It does
so that's
have
actually
OIS
nice.
on the main sensor.
win.
The main sensor
That's
should
a
be
win.
good.
The rest-
I took a couple selfies with it. The selfies look good, but it still doesn't have 4K from the selfie camera.
And it's 8 Plus Gen 1.
Which I think is perfectly fine because it's
perfectly
fine.
fine.
What was the final price on it? I forget the final price.
$650.
Pretty cheap.
$650.
Yeah.
For 8,128 or 8,256.
Yeah. So I mean, it's not a budget device, but it's a low end flagship that should deliver on exactly what you want, which is fast charging. I mean, that's the story there.
And so nothing is doing nothing like nothingness.
And we just came from a nothing
I mean,
party.
no offense. I just spent time talking with Carpe, and we caught up, and he's such a wonderful guy. Look, I love nothing, and I make fun of them because they have that viral marketing that OnePlus used to have, and it's their thing, it's their shtick, and I can't be mad about it. No. Sometimes it's a little over the top. But one of the things they did today was, they did we have a surprise announcement at the Qualcomm booth at 5 o'clock. So we all showed up. We waited a good half hour for this thing to get off the road. And it's Carl and a couple of, Qualcomm execs coming up on stage and basically together announcing that the next phone will have an 8 series Snapdragon chip. They didn't even want to tell us which 8 series.
TBD which model.
So I'm calling it now. Snapdragon 888. Plus,
I'm speculating similar to that, but remember
8 Plus Gen 1. I'm calling it now.
No, but
that's what I think.
8 Plus Gen 1, maybe. You know how we had the 870? Well, it wasn't the 870. It was the 888, and then we got the 870.
Correct.
Yeah. And the 870 was the better
865 plus.
No, so I'm thinking. I'm thinking we don't have the version from Qualcomm yet of the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1, the lower tier, which would be the 870 version, which is a chipset that probably will be announced in the next 3 to 4 months.
Right.
And they might be one of the first devices to get that.
The launch device.
So it'd be the 8
because
Gen 1.
Because they did get a slightly custom version of the 780, 768, 778.
They have their own unique number. Yes.
Plus, or whatever it was.
And so I'm thinking it's a Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 that's been tuned down.
Not Gen 1, please. Not 8
no,
Gen 1.
But it's been tuned
8
down.
Gen 1 was a terrible chip.
But it's going to be cheaper.
We want
that's
8
one of the
Plus
things.
Gen 1. Or 8 Gen 2.
8
Gen 1 was a terrible chip by all measures.
Here's my thing. It's going to be...
TSMC. It has to be TSMC.
It's going to be a tuned down version, which will mean it'll be a lot more power efficient. Nothing's really not concerned about having the most powerful phone.
They're concerned with nothing.
They're concerned with money.
Yeah.
They want to give you dollar for value. And I think if they can give you an older chipset that still gives you decent performance, but they tune down the performance so that the thermals are good.
Yeah.
I think it'll be good.
As it's a TSMC manufacturer. Because that's what made all the difference in efficiency.
It could.
We need that efficiency.
It could be. I don't know.
I think an 8 Plus Gen 1 detuned is what I want. Not an 8 Gen 1.
No, I would want that as well, but I don't think for the price that's what they would do.
That's why 888 Plus.
No, but I'm thinking they're looking at what's going to be the most budget value. What can we deliver? And people are going to be like, oh my gosh, that's the price of the phone.
Yeah.
Right? And Who knows? Again, this is all speculation. I have no clue about anything.
Yeah, but I mean, basically, here's what we know a phone is coming. The latest rumors is it's going to launch in the US first, actually, which I think is pretty damn cool.
That's cool.
Speculated with US carrier support for at least one carrier.
How is that even possible? OnePlus has given up on that.
Maybe they're like, we signed with nothing, so we're not signing with OnePlus.
Oh my God, what a coup.
We'll swap one for the other.
I can see Pete is going to be so mad.
No, I mean, it'll be interesting. And if it's not U.S. carrier support, it'll be U.S. carrier band support to give us 100%. Good 5G in the U.S. market.
Yeah. So one last thing, little tidbits here to really just I'm just basically PSA. ZTE launched a tablet with the Leia display. Leia display was the display that was in the Hydrogen 1 red phone.
Oh, yes.
But they now have a better version of that display, and ZTE is making a tablet with this display that can display 3D and detect your gaze to give you the 3Ds. So I never got a chance to check that out, but that's one of the announcements that happened today from them. No phones. Then Tecno has a folding phone, which I feel bad. I'm going to have to email them. I couldn't attend it because there's a conflict, and I really need to get my Realme review unit, which I have now. And so they made a folding phone, and I know nothing about it. Did you find out anything? Either of you?
No. They have a folding phone. It is the price. You want to know the price?
Yeah, start with that.
What do you think the price is?
I think I know what the price is.
Is it a flip phone or is it a fold?
It's a fold.
It's $11.99.
$9.99.
$979.
Whoa!
With currency conversion. So $979, and I think that was India pricing with conversion to USD.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's pretty cheap.
Under $1,000, it would be the first fold phone under $1,000.
Yeah. That's pretty good.
Well, we'll have to check out the specs. I mean, we can talk about it on the next show.
Yeah. So I did not go to the announcement because I was at the Realme announcement as well. But I was at the Tecno booth the day before, and they were doing a demo with they launched 2 new laptops here at MWC as well.
Oh, right.
That had integration with the new Fold. It's called the Phantom Fold, the Tecno Phantom B Fold or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so, like all the Chinese OEMs, they have these integration with Windows and screen share. And stuff like that. But the demo was with the phone that was unannounced the day before, so I got to play with it because I was there to cover the laptops. Yeah. And it felt good. I would say Tecno's not known by a lot of people in Western markets.
No, it's like Infinix.
It's like Infinix. Yeah. They have a Middle East and Africa focus as well.
Yeah,
that's where they're selling.
But they make some cool stuff.
They make some cool stuff, and their prices are always lower because of those markets specifically. I think if they can deliver a folding phone for $1,000, like as we were saying before, more phones that fold is better for everybody.
Yeah.
Even if they might not be the best, that just means there's more competition, which means it'll drive the price for everything lower. Yeah. It's not Samsung on the high end saying a folding phone costs $1,800 and that's what it's going to be. Yeah. If they do have to compete on price, they'll have to compete on price eventually, which means we all win in the end.
Yeah.
100%. Well, on that note, we should wrap it up. Nick, you want to tell people when they can find you on the internet?
Definitely. You can find me personally at Nick M. Gray on Twitter or Instagram, or else all my work covering phones on Fandroid, fandroid.com, youtube.com/Fandroid, and TikTok and Instagram, it's Fandroids with an S.
Androids.
And it's Gray with an A. And he is now a TikTok superstar, just so you know. So you should
I have 2 videos that blow up, and now I'm a superstar.
Don't lower the expectations.
I lower the expectations.
They have very high quality videos.
Oh my God. What about you, Christian? Where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter, Cedarlooper. I'm freelancing. I'm at BGR. I'm writing for Forbes. I'm writing for etc.
Digital Trends.
Digital Trends. Doing some car coverage for Digital Trends. But probably the best place is Twitter if you just want to keep up with my work. At Cedarlooper.
And speaking of car, I had my first article on Motor One this week about the Mercedes E-Class has a new infotainment system based on Mercedes' new in-house OS. Yeah. So check that out. I had hands-on with it. Very rare. The car hasn't even revealed yet. I got to sit inside and I was not allowed to turn my head.
Nope.
To look behind me.
Can't see the rear seats.
Nope. They had a partition there anyway. Anyway, you know where to find me on the internet, folks. I'm at Tankgirl. That's TNKGRL, just like the comic book character. Drop the vowels. That's my Twitter handle and my Instagram handle. If you want to chat with all of us about this podcast, hit us up on Twitter. And Instagram is where you'll find pretty pictures of phones and cars and travel and food and other tech, taken with phones typically, because that's what I like to do. And there's a couple of YouTube channels that go with the podcast, youtube.com/mobiletechpodcast and youtube.com/mobiletechmore. The first one is more about the phones, and the second one is more about all the other peripheral stuff. Please, you know how YouTube works, so like, subscribe, tell your friends, click the little notification bell, all that good stuff. Comment about the podcast if you want as well. I'd like to have a conversation with you. So check out the YouTubes. The podcast itself, if it's your first time here, is at mobiletechpodcast.com. And we're on all the platforms, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Pocket Casts, Spotify, everywhere good podcasts can be found. If your app lets you review the show or rate the show in some way, please consider doing that. And I want to thank the Patreons. I mentioned that multiple times through the show here. If you really want to make a difference for the show, help me out financially at Patreon, patreon.com/TNKGRL. That's patreon.com/TNKGRL. And we have a bunch of tiers and perks, whatever you want to call them there. One is a video version of the podcast, which you get to see us handle the devices and show you stuff. And it's a day or two ahead of the audio version that's completely free. So check that out. And then there is like a Discord server you can join to chat and like a bit of a community there. And then, you know, we have another perk for a special one for people who want to pay a little more, which is a monthly chat with me live. So you can ask me like anything basically about all these devices we're talking about. So consider the Patreon. And if you don't like Patreon, I get it. There's another option. There's a PayPal link in the show notes. You can click through, buy me a little coffee or whatever, make a donation. I appreciate it. It's a one-time deal and no strings or subscriptions or anything like that. So again, you know, there is the PayPal, but there's also patreon.com/tankgirl. So yeah, and I want to thank our sponsor, Mint Mobile. So as you know, I'm constantly reviewing multiple phones, and while that's fun, it also means I'm constantly spending a lot of money for wireless service on multiple SIMs. That's where Mint Mobile comes in, and that's who I'm partnering with for today's podcast. If you also want to save money on your wireless service, switch to Mint Mobile. As tech-savvy early adopters, you've probably heard of Mint Mobile before, but let me quickly tell you how awesome their service is. Mint Mobile offers premium wireless for as low as $15 a month, and you don't have to sacrifice any coverage, speed, or data. They're built on the nation's largest 5G network. They keep costs low because they sell direct to you online. They cut out the retail stores and salespeople. Why should you pay more than you have to for access to the same network? In my experience testing phones, Mint Mobile delivers the same data speeds and call quality as the big three for a fraction of the cost. Switching to Mint is super easy. Thanks to their eSIMs, you can sign up and activate immediately right on your phone from the comfort of your home. No more standing around and waiting in line at a big wireless store. You can keep your current device and phone number and easily switch services. And if your phone isn't eSIM compatible, Mint will ship you a new SIM free of charge. All Mint Mobile plans include unlimited nationwide talk and text, lightning fast 5G, and free mobile hotspot. Mint will show you how much data you use each month and recommend plans that save you money. Mint also offers a modern family plan that lets you set up a super affordable family plan with as little as 2 lines. Use my link mintmobile.com/mobiletech to get premium wireless starting for $15 a month. That's mintmobile.com/mobiletech. Stop paying more than you need on your wireless bill and start saving big with Mint Mobile. And I want to thank you too for being on the show, Nick.
Absolutely.
Christian.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Always a pleasure.
Yep.
I'm actually surprised that we managed to recruit the exact people we had at the CS show this time.
You just got to repeat.
I know, it's kind of cool. It's like part deux. So folks, stay tuned. I have another podcast lined up for you next week. And until then, cheers everybody.
This has been the Mobile Tech Podcast with Tank Girl, proudly presented by worldpodcasts.com. You can visit us online at mobiletechpodcast.com.